Hey, how's everyone doing? Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad I didn't go in the first, what was that, 4 spots, because I guess I'm the comic relief. You get to see how a newbie high-level script never actually came to fruition. I guess when I signed up for these, I should have a few things in the works um, ready to go. Hey, just a very cool PowerPoint thing. This little select thing, if you've ever seen this, has a selection pane and will show you all the layers of your things so you can find them and hide and show them. Really, really cool, useful feature. All right, so I should be full screen right there. This I called it ScrambleSpeak.Mp3.py. I got excited about this idea because I was hoping to make a name that tune Python script someday that plays a random small sample of a random MP3 on your hard drive, and then your friends in a Zoom can buzz in, in the chat and try to name that tune. But I thought I would take it past that, and so here's where my kind of 4-stage process comes in at a high level. Here's our Blackboard. Chapter 1 of 4 for this presentation will be the kind of invention, coming up with a concept. Hey, is this possible? Chapter 2 of the 4 will be kind of research, design. Hey, what goes into, what needs to be plugged in? What do I need to get microphone input? Chapter 3 of 4 will be the hardware and the programming, actually making the Python script. I didn't totally get that far because I ran into hardware issues with a Raspberry Pi and of course Windows. I'll get to that. And then chapter 4 of 4, I think Jorge would approve, test, extend, improve, test your script, try to break it, see what's wrong with it anyways. Okay, so how I came up with the idea, this was a royalty clip art. Let me fix that. That's better. Still something wrong with it, but I don't know what. Doesn't look like me, but okay, so I have a niece and 2 nephews. The twins are 5.5 and a nephew who's 4. And I thought, what if I could make a script that you talk into the Raspberry Pi and then it scrambles up what you said and makes it sound funny and spits it back in a random order. So here's me. I'm feeling like I'm a programmer able to do this. I have a Raspberry Pi that actually looks kind of like this on a little tripod. And I figured that there was some kind of microphone input that was very easy and that I would just hook up a little analog 3.5 millimeter, not so easy. So I thought I would have my setup there, and this here, let's change the laptop into a Pi. And so just to kind of visually show you the concept, let's say this is a wave audio or MP3. I thought with this Pi, I would take this section, move it over and stick it somewhere else and reassemble an MP3 into one continuous stream. So that got me thinking, okay, what is a binary? Can I just chop it at certain bit lengths? Like here's a very matrixy looking thing. I thought, what if I take, bytes 0 through 118, put them down here, reassemble it. I don't think that would work. It's not like a cherry pie where you just say, what if I swap slices 1 and 6? Could anyone here tell? No, that's still the same pie. No, this is what a binary looks like. Here's a JPEG. It knows what goes with what, and there's compression and who knows what. So I thought, let me jump in and start recording some things with my Raspberry Pi. There's some simple commands once you run all the updates to find a microphone. I did not. So unfortunately, this little audio is actually audio out, not a microphone. So I would have needed a USB and, who knows what with that. And here are these little hats you can get for very high-end digital video, digital audio. I don't know if people have experimented with that, but there's, 8 gigs on my little Raspberry Pi 4. You can really do a lot with them. Complexity starts getting crazy with things you can add on here. This one here is $130. So Anyways, so I thought with Windows, I would just use the Windows Python. And okay, so how do I find my microphone and isolate it? They have all these setup screens, master volume. There's a recording control panel like the old Windows way. And at the bottom here, there's this little setting up a microphone. I quickly clicked it. It took me to a Bing page about, here are the, feels like 18 steps to get a microphone to work. So instead of that, I thought, let me do this in theory and just kind of see what's involved with Python to accept input from a microphone, how to output either raw data to an MP3, and then if there's a module out there, because there are tons of them, to reassemble it. So let's see, there's some tools with like Raspberry Pi that can identify the microphone. I think I've already covered that. If I was doing a Linux bash script, I could probably make this work because there's something like this hyphen, which is raw input. I believe I saw something in Python where there's an equivalency where you concatenate a raw feed of data into a file and then say, oh, that's an MP3, which is going to be necessary to make this work. This is just showing that there's an ffplay binary for Linux where you can seek to a certain position and start from there. So with an equivalency in Python, you would have to, I guess, ask the user, how many pieces do you want? How many chunks? And you say 12. And do you want random lengths or not? And then it would have to spit out from the master file a bunch of little chunks and then concatenate and put them back together. So there's just our shout out to our Python group. This so hopefully on Saturday, one of the Saturday ones, I'll have this completed and I'll share it. This is a great book, Automate the Boring Stuff. I was learning all about file and OS, you know, how to open a file, how to name it, iterations and ranges. Because if the person said, you know, 12 random chunks, you'd have to say, run this thing 12 times in a neat, tidy way. And then I actually found it at python.org, there's a module index, which is probably not at all exhaustive. I mean, A barely has anything here. Maybe these are the ones that are tested and don't break your system and people haven't created. Jorge, do you know if there's?
Those are actually built from the doc strings in the Python source code itself. So it's all of those that have chosen to be exposed.
Okay, but then there are tons out there. You know, I ran into like PyDuck, so this is how far I got. And then some of the sources that I saw were like PlaySound, from PlaySound, import PlaySound. That would be, once this is reassembled, how to play the MP3. There's a PyDub with audio segments. And I'm not sorry, I'm not sharing tons of the code, but this was, what was another one? Several of them had, you could actually change the, how many hertz, whether you want stereo or not, one for mono, which was pretty interesting. If you don't want your sound files huge, you can have the input file limited by its size and quality. And I think we're getting to the end here. This was the important question I had, how to concatenate audio files. And it looks like MoviePy.editor has a simple way. If you had 5 MP3s, let's say you were writing a book and you stored notes, but you wanted 1 MP3, I guess you could have a very simple script, this final underscore script, concatenate, and put it all together into one. So that's pretty much what I have. And I welcome any questions, but sorry, there wasn't too much there. It was more of a high level beginning to plan and see what I need to research. Thanks for the time.
I just wondered if authors, instead of reading their whole books, could just read certain words and you could just parse those, create a dictionary of words in MP3 location, and then create your own audio file of a book that you've written, or if you wanted to create a fake audio of somebody saying something that they didn't really say, then you create a dictionary of the words and the MP3 locations, and you create your own modified MP3 file and put it out there as though it's real. Or if in the case of an author, instead of reading the whole book, you just have a list of all the words, and you read those words and read a couple of sentences, and it creates its own MP3 file.
That would introduce the AI angle, probably the
Well,
inflection.
in a way, I wouldn't really consider it AI. I would just consider it, you start with an MP3, you parse the words, you find the MP3 locations, you create a script, and it's just a step-by-step process of creating it. There's nothing really artificial AI about it, as far as I can see.
The only thing to consider is that English, like many other languages, we use different tones to indicate transitions between words.
Right.
So even if the word is used in several different places, in one place it may be a statement, the other place it may be a question, and the inflection is different.
Right.
So it's a pretty complicated domain. Having said that, it would be a fun project to take on, to see if we can produce more natural sounding speech than a robot. I would certainly be interested in something like that.
Yeah, I just wonder how much text you would actually have to read to be able to get all of those intonations.
Yeah, what the sample size would be, right?
Yeah,
and you would have to sample from different files depending on what you're trying to say. But still, I mean, that kind of project can be built on some of the work that Peter's showing here, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah, the difficulty is there's such a tiny gap between each word. If you're trying to isolate those and blend them to the right volumes, like you say, and intonations, it's going to be a chunk of it. It's going to take a few days to build sentences, I think, for deep fakes or whatever. I don't know.